The restaurant wasn't fancy, but it had charm, the kind that came from years of birthday dinners, late-night coffee refills, and walls lined with photographs of smiling customers. Maple Dinner sat on the corner of a quiet downtown street, its neon sign flickering softly in the early evening haze. Inside, the dinner rush was building. Plates clattered, silverware chimed, and the smell of garlic bread mixed with the hum of conversation. A young waiter named Ryan weaved through the tables, balancing trays like a tightrope walker. It was his third shift that week, and he already felt invisible. "Excuse me, can we get our check?" a man called from table 5. "Ryan!" shouted his manager, Gina, from the counter. "Table three's drinks are still waiting." "Coming right up," he called back, plastering on a smile he didn't feel. Ryan was 23, just out of college, and working at the diner to cover rent while chasing his dream of becoming a musician. He'd moved to the city with a guitar, a suitcase, and the kind of optimism that only lasts until the bills start arriving. The job was supposed to be temporary, but temporary had turned into nearly a year. That night, as he hurried between tables, a group of young professionals at table 6 decided to make him the butt of their jokes. "Hey, Picasso, we've been waiting 15 minutes for ketchup. Are you painting it by hand?" Laughter rippled around the table. Ryan forced a polite smile. "Sorry about that. I'll bring it right away." As he turned, another voice added, "Maybe you should stick to waiting tables, buddy." He bit the inside of his cheek and kept walking. He'd learned not to take it personally, but some nights were harder than others. At table 7 sat an elderly man who came in every Thursday, always alone, always ordering the same thing: chicken pot pie, black coffee, and an apple slice for dessert. He dressed neatly in a pressed shirt and worn jacket, and carried a small leather notebook that he occasionally wrote in between bites. Ryan liked serving him because he was quiet and kind. When Ryan set his meal down that evening, the man smiled. "Rough night." Ryan blinked, caught off guard. "Is it that obvious?" "Son, you look like you're running a marathon in a rainstorm." Ryan chuckled. "Yeah, something like that." The old man nodded toward the corner table where the group had been laughing. "Don't let them get to you. Some people need to step on others just to feel tall." Ryan smiled faintly. "Thanks, sir. I appreciate that." The man's expression softened. "Name's Walter, by the way. You've been serving me for months, and I figured it's time I learned yours, too." "Ryan, good to finally introduce myself." As the night wore on, the noise in the restaurant grew louder. The group at table 6 started ordering shots, ignoring the posted sign that said no bar service after 9. Gina looked exhausted trying to manage them. Ryan tried to keep his focus, but when one of them spilled a drink across the table and waved him over with exaggerated impatience, something in him cracked. "Hey, waiter!" one of the guys said loudly, "maybe you can sing us a song while you're at it. Heard that's what wannabe stars do." Laughter again. Ryan forced a breath through his nose and walked away before he said something he'd regret. Walter watched quietly from his seat, his notebook closed on the table. A few minutes later, the group decided to play a cruel little game. When Ryan brought their check, they whispered and laughed. They left a tip, a single penny, placed right in the center of the table. Ryan froze when he saw it. His throat tightened, but he said nothing. He picked up the plates, stacked them neatly, and turned away. The penny rolled off the table and hit the floor with a sound louder than it should have been. Walter had seen everything. He set down his coffee cup, stood up slowly, and walked over to table 6. The restaurant quieted. Even Gina stopped mid-sentence behind the counter as the old man approached table 6. "Gentlemen," he began, his voice calm but carrying weight. "I couldn't help noticing your tip. Must have taken all of you to come up with that." One of the men smirked. "It's called feedback, old-timer. Maybe he'll do better next time." Walter smiled faintly. "I imagine you're very good at giving feedback, especially when it doesn't cost you much." Another man rolled his eyes. "Look, we're just having fun." Walter nodded slowly. "Fun. That's what they called it when people mocked others in my day, too. But where I come from, we learned something different about respect." The laughter died down. A couple at a nearby booth turned to listen. Walter reached into his jacket pocket, pulled out his wallet, and took out a crisp $100 bill. He placed it on the table, right beside the penny. "That," he said, "is how you thank someone who works hard while you sit here pretending you're better. Consider it a lesson in decency." one you clearly skipped. No one spoke. The men stared, unsure whether to be angry or ashamed. Walter turned to Ryan. "Son, take that for yourself. You earned it." Ryan stood frozen. "Sir, I can't." "Please," Walter interrupted. "You can and you should. It's not about the money. It's about remembering that worth isn't measured by who serves and who's being served." The old man returned to his seat. The restaurant erupted in soft murmurs. The group at table 6 paid their bill in silence and left without another word. Gina came over, shaking her head in disbelief. "You all right?" Ryan nodded slowly. Yeah, I am." She smiled. "You've got yourself a guardian angel at table 7. Later that night, after closing, Ryan found Walter still sitting by the window, writing in his notebook. "You didn't have to do that," Ryan said quietly. Walter looked up. "Maybe not, but I wanted to. I've seen too many good people forget their own worth because others made them feel small." He closed his notebook and slipped it into his coat pocket. "You remind me of my son. He was about your age when I last saw him." "Where is he now?" Walter smiled faintly. "Gone. Military. Never came home." Ryan's chest tightened. "I'm sorry," Walter said softly. "Don't be. He lived with honor. I try to do the same." Before leaving, Walter said something Ryan would remember for the rest of his life. "Keep doing what you do with kindness, even when people don't deserve it. That's what separates strength from cruelty." The next week, Walter didn't come in. Ryan figured he was just out of town. But Thursday came and went. Again, no sign of him. Finally, a letter arrived at the restaurant, addressed to Ryan, Maple Dinner. Inside was a handwritten note and a small check. "Ryan, thank you for your patience and dignity that night. I won't be coming in anymore, but I wanted to help with your music. Use this for something good, maybe a song that reminds people to listen before they judge. You made an old man proud. Under Walter." The check was for $5,000. Ryan sat in the break room staring at it, unsure whether to laugh or cry. Gina put her hand on his shoulder. "Looks like you've got your start," she said. That year, Ryan recorded his first song, a simple acoustic piece called Table 7. It wasn't polished or professional, but it carried heart. He uploaded it online with a photo of the empty booth and a caption that read, "For Walter, who taught me what dignity sounds like." The song spread quickly. Local radio picked it up. People shared it not because it was perfect, but because it felt true. Messages poured in from strangers, servers, cashiers, and anyone who had ever felt unseen. The lyrics, "You never know who's watching when you choose to be kind," became a quiet anthem for everyone who'd ever been disrespected and still chose grace. Months later, Ryan used part of the song's earnings to start a fund for restaurant staff struggling with bills. He called it the Walter Fund. Every year on the anniversary of that night, the restaurant closed early, and the staff gathered at table 7 to share a meal and stories of kindness they'd witnessed. Maple Dinner became more than a diner. It became a place where people remembered that one small act could ripple far beyond its moment. And whenever someone new walked through the door, they'd see a framed photo on the wall. Walter, smiling with a cup of coffee in his hand. Underneath the photo were the words he'd once said to Ryan. "Keep doing what you do with kindness, even when people don't deserve it." Years later, when reporters asked Ryan where his success began, he never talked about the record deal or the viral hit. He always said the same thing. "It started at table 7, with a man who reminded me that dignity costs nothing and changes everything."